today's show. Ooh, the rumor mill is flying fast and free, and let's go Slovenia! Another win against Spain. We'll break that down and talk about how Slovenia and Luka Doncic could get a medal.
Ooh, gold medal?
It's the Locked On Podcast. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com, the Roman Reigns, the One More Thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Are you ready to buy your Kyle Lowry Mavericks jersey? Or is it too soon or too early?
Wait. If you skip the intro on YouTube, go back and look at the middle of the intro, because for some reason it stopped and Isaac and I were stuck deer in the headlights, just looking at the camera like, what just happened?
I didn't know what to do, but okay, we're going to get to all the rumors and all the fun stuff about free agency that's starting today. If you listen to this on Monday, which you are because we're recording this on Monday, but
also for everybody that's sick of the rumor has it drop, it's going to be gone in like a week. You're going to miss it because all of a sudden free agency will be done, and where will the rumors come from?
Will they miss it? Will they miss it? But first and foremost, Luka Doncic in Slovenia.
Man.
Okay, I just want to say this right off the top. Is this the 2011 Mavericks?
This Slovenia team?
This Slovenia team. Are they going to go on their gold medal and beat USA in the gold medal game, and that's the version of the Heat?
Is it the version of the Heat?
I don't know. Just roll with it. If they beat,
This is the version of the Heat where you have the stars just come together. They have no like continuity, and then you have the one star on the other side, surrounded by just bros.
They're gonna go through France probably in the next round, and this is the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. This Slovenia team. Luka Doncic is Dirk. They have this great team chemistry, all these surrounding pieces. This is it. Let's do this.
We are not locked on Mavericks. We are locked on compare things to 2011 is what we are.
Hey,
how many times over the last couple of years have we done that?
I mean, if we're still going to live in this with this current Dallas team, why not? Well, why not do it now with the Olympics?
But I really do want to break this down because I thought that this was a really good win for Slovenia. It was like a gut check fighting. We're going after this. They didn't even need this win. They had already qualified for the knockout round. They didn't need to. By the way, we're talking about Slovenia and Spain in the Olympics. And Slovenia comes away with the win. They finished the game 95-87. And they finished the game with just a crazy like 12-2 run. It just came out of nowhere. I was watching it on replay, and I was like, man, Spain only scores 2 more points the rest of the game. We'll get to the end there, but this was just a gut check win for Slovenia, I thought.
Yeah, I think this was a game that I needed. A guy who I come in, I swoop in, and this is the first time I'm really watching a Slovenian national team for the most part, outside of like Luka Dragic, those highlights in Eurobasket, all that, but I needed this just to see how far I think this Slovenia team could go, because this was, even though this performance was still impressive by Luka, it was, I think for a lot of people, it was, okay, this team, Luka, he's going to have to put up 35-40 every time for this team to keep on winning. I'm not saying the diehard fans who know this team. I'm talking about fans who are not used to this team. I think that was the perception. And then this win against this Spain team was, oh, okay. They might not have to have a 40-pointer by Luka every single time for them to have a big win.
They didn't even get a 20-pointer from Luka in this one. Luka, 12 points. I think he finished with like 14 rebounds or something like that. But yeah, only 12 points for Luka. And it's because that was by design and kind of foul trouble. Spain packed the paint. They were going box and one against him. They were trapping him. They were going double. They were just anything that they could do against him. They were picking him up at a half court pretty much every single time he had the ball. There was a time in the second quarter, or maybe the third quarter, where Luka actually got to drive to the basket, and the announcer, like, God bless him, he was the only one in the booth for some reason, and he's like, wow, that's the first time that Luka has been able to get to the paint because they only had one guy on him, because it was surprising because it stood out how often he was able to get to the rim, because it wasn't often. It was not often at all, because they're doubling, picking up at half court, trapping, the box and one where they have one guy guarding him and then 4 people basically playing zone behind him. It was just a wild attempt from Spain to try and control Luka. And to Luka's credit, he does this. And we're not surprised by this. Slovenia fans are not surprised by this. Mavericks fans are not surprised by this. But I feel like a lot of pundits, media people, other fans, whatever.
Casuals.
The casuals. We're probably surprised that Luka made the right pass every single time. He got it to the open man, or he got it to the right person to make a decision. All those times when it was a pick and roll where he gets doubled off of the roll man's defender, and Toby was in the middle, and then Luka throws it to Toby. Toby kicks it out, or he takes a little jumper, or he finishes, like all that kind of stuff. Or Luka kicks it to the right guy on the wing. He did all that stuff, and he did it all, and didn't have to just do it himself, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care how much he scores. He doesn't care, how many points he scores, unless he's going for a record, right? Like, unless he's close to a record, that's the only time that he really cares about that stuff. He just wants to win the game, and I thought this was a great example of that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And to see these other guys hit threes, and to see these other guys like Mike Toby, yesterday's podcast, I said something of like, hey, like other centers around the league would want to play with Luka because you benefit playing with Luka. And I was like, look at Mike Toby, how much he's benefiting. And some fans are like, hey, you're discrediting Mike Toby. I'm like, I didn't say
you were. Suck. Let's be real. You were a little bit.
I'm just saying that you can be good and still benefit by playing with Luka Doncic. But I just love seeing Luka so happy, man. He's posting all these pictures. He seems so happy. I'm happy to watch his team. This team is so much fun to freaking watch play basketball. And I was on the phone with somebody today, and they said, all right, if Slovenia makes it to the gold medal game against USA, who are you rooting for? I was like,
this is like asking me if I would rather want the Lakers or the Mavericks to win. Like, at this point, I mean, we're completely transitioned over.
I know. I'm like, that's not even a question for me.
Give us our dual citizenship or our double passports.
In Slovenia, I'm rooting for them every single time in that. Yes. So I'm sure somebody will comment in the YouTube and be like, oh, you're not.
By the way, Mike Toby finished with 16 points, 14 boards in this game.
Let's go.
3 assists. 3 assists were important because it was all those breaking the zone kind of and the traps kind of plays that he made. Propelic finished with 15 points of his own as well. You had Chanchar with 22 points. He was 4 of 7 from 3. You had a couple other guys hitting some threes there.
Can we get him from Denver?
Finished. I know. Denver. What are you're not doing anything with him?
We get
right?
him. We trade for Dragic. We
get Toby. Come on.
Igor.
Luka finished with 12 points, 14 rebounds. Like I said, 9 assists for Luka. He was making the right pass, doing the right things.
So they beat Spain. Yeah. Now they go into Monday night. They play Germany, which
tonight.
Love you, Dirk. Yes, tonight. Love you, Dirk, but you're not there. I think the real question
is not playing, so don't be surprised if you don't see him.
What if this was like a few years ago and Dirk was playing? Who would you root for then? That's the hard one. Ooh. And that would have been so fun, right? To see Dirk anyway. So they'll beat
Luka would just go at Dirk, right?
He would,
and it would just be sad a little.
That would. Can you imagine Luka getting Dirk and switches, and we're all just like, I don't know what to do with this. It would be miserable. But they'll beat Germany, and they'll set up for an amazing game. Probably. I don't want to underestimate Italy either against France, but France should beat Italy. But if they face off against France, a team that beat USA obviously in qualifying, that will be that'll be a heck of a game. Slovenia versus France, and so. If they could pull off the victory against France, which would be a massive win for them, to face off then in the gold medal game on Friday against probably Team USA, but that will be an epic showdown.
2 things I want to say about this game that I forgot to mention. Luka had 3 fouls at the end of the first quarter. He goes out with 48 seconds left in the first quarter. They only play 10-minute quarters, and they only have 5 fouls in a game. in the Olympics as well. And so he was out, and the announcer said he's probably out the rest of the half. I was like, what? Are you crazy? He's not going to play the rest of the half? And he did come in the second quarter and came back in with about 5 minutes left or so. And Luka didn't score until there was 4 minutes left in the first quarter. So like they were trapping him hard, and then Luka had a couple
They're
of
still physical with him too.
Really physical. He had a couple of early offensive fouls because they were just packing the paint so much. He was surprised that guys were even there. Gets that other foul, and then he is out basically kind of the rest of the half, and then he plays a little bit of the second quarter. But Slovenia held up their end of the bargain basically without Luka on the floor. And this team. And so it's notable that they won this game with Luka missing a bunch of time, and he ended up playing 34 minutes. So he played like the whole second half, and the fouls weren't an issue then, but he missed some of that time in the first half, and then they were able to come back with him. But this team, they have a new guy that comes out and scores 20 every single game, right? Like last game, it was Goran Dragic. He only finished with 6 points in this game. You had Chanchar with 22 in this game. Prepelic coming off the bench and playing. He had 15 in this one. Toby 16 in this. Like they just have different guys that step up every single game, and you love to see it, right? Because they're not just relying on Luka to score and then maybe one other guy to score. They can get contributions from everybody. So. Coming up, let's get into the rumor mill coming around. We got some Mavericks news, lots of stuff to talk about. That the Mavericks are bringing back some bigs, a couple bigs. And we obviously have to talk about the Kyle Lowry stuff because it's the first domino to fall in free agency, it seems. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. I had a raspberry Built Bar today. They were great. Go get you some Built Bars. If you're interested in the raspberry, the fruit flavored ones, raspberry, 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar for a bar that tastes great, covered in 100% chocolate. You can go order them mixed boxes. You can order one of the same flavor in the entire box. They're great. Use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order at Built Bar. They have all kinds of other products as well that you can check out. Built Boost, that's like a Crystal Light kind of deal that you pour into water that tastes good, and it also gives you a little boost to your immune system. So go check that stuff out. Built.com, promo code LOCKED15. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more rumors in the NBA. Boban is expected to come back to the Dallas Mavericks, according to Mark Stein, and I let out a sigh of relief because honestly, and I said this to one of our friends on Twitter today. This was the only thing I was really worried about in free agency because I'm going to be okay if they miss out on some big names. If they miss out on Kyle Lowry, I'm okay. Miss out on Lonzo Ball, I'm okay. All this stuff, I'll be okay. I'll make it through. But if Boban is gone from this team, a little piece of me will die.
Boban's not leaving this team.
I'm so glad.
I'm
so glad.
I think that's why when we start looking at these guys like getting Moses Brown in, that's why when we see the reports of Willie Cauley-Stein's option being picked up, for this coming season, like we're already factoring Boban into that, saying, well, okay, we're going to have Boban because we know everything that Boban brings to this team, chemistry-wise. We know the relationship he has with Luka. We know that he can still bring something on the court, too. I was going to say,
he's Salah that can play.
He's what?
He's Salah that can play. Remember when Salah was Luka's friend and then Salah was gone and we were like, oh, no, who's going to be Luka's friend? And then they brought in literally the best friend in the NBA.
Yes. So, yes, I fully expected Boban to be back. So it was great news to see Mark Stein tweet that out today. I think the bigger question for us is Willie Cauley-Stein. Now that, Tim McMahon, tweeting that out, it was official today that they picked up the team option on that. That was the deadline yesterday on Sunday. So now
$4.1 million now for Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, 4.1. So is he on the team in training camp?
No,
Nick. No. I don't think so either. Unless they do some type of other move to where they ship out, some other centers on the roster, Dwight Powell somewhere else. And it's like, okay. And, Moses Brown is just a training camp guy. And it's like Willie's a backup center with Boban. But that's the only way I could see that. But I think it's more of a trade chip. Yeah, with you.
I think he's a good salary filler. You need $4 million to add to a deal. Boom. It's expiring too. So if you want to just buy him out on the other team, you can. The receiving team on that. We'll talk about him with the Dragic stuff in just a little bit too. So yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein was the other actual Mavericks type rumor that came out. That was sort of like an official thing that they're going after, that they're picking up that option for him. Kyle Lowry seems to be, they're laser focused. They're, targeting, they're going after Miami Heat and Kyle Lowry in a sign and trade. One of the interesting turns of events that happened on Sunday was the Miami Heat had these two guys that had team options. They had Andre Iguodala and they had Goran Dragic. We talked about them yesterday, and we were like, okay, whatever they do with them. And your prediction was that they were going to turn them both down. Your prediction was that they were going to. Either way, we were opposite ends, and they ended up keeping Dragic and turning down Iguodala's. And so when they turned down Iguodala's, everyone was like, oh, here we go. They're clearing up space, and then like 30 minutes later or so, they're picking up Goran Dragic's option, which then leaves them, they don't have cap space then. Like, they don't have max cap space to straight up sign a Kyle Lowry.
It allows them to stay over the cap. Now they can operate
Right.
as an over the cap team.
Right. So now that they keep Dragic, and they're going to do a sign and trade with Kyle Lowry, with Precious Achiuwa, I think, getting sent to the Raptors, and then Dragic getting sent to Toronto with him as well.
How is this deal done? I thought it doesn't start until I just want to know why Bogdanovic is not a Milwaukee Buck, because I didn't know, how if rules were different for certain markets compared. I just know if I was a Bucks fan right now, I know I just won the title. I'm celebrating that, but on the other side, I would be throwing a fit now.
It's like I hate when people complain about the tampering thing, because everybody does it. So you're like, okay, we'll just shrug it off and it's fine. It's tampering. But then when the league actually exercises that rule and doesn't just turn a blind eye to it like they have done every other year, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem, right? Like then it becomes, if they're fining Doc Rivers for just complimenting a player after a game, you're like, what are we doing? Or if you're fining Magic Johnson for winking on Jimmy Kimmel, like, come on, like, what are you doing? And
I was fine with that.
And then if they find him too much, he won't tweet anymore, Isaac. Then what do you do? But the similar deal to Kyle Lowry. I'm speaking quite well today. The Bucks tried to do a similar deal with Goran Dragic. The Bucks tried to do a similar deal with Bogdanovic last season with the Kings in a sign and trade that the Raptors and Heat are doing right now. And it was a couple days before the actual deadline that they could do it. And the NBA came in and said that you can't do it anymore. So you'll notice in Mark Stein and Woj and Shams' tweets today, they are very specific in saying they're targeting, they're leading. This is going to be the thing that they're going after. They're leaning towards doing this, like all the little words to make it just sound like it's not official. But I mean, come on, right? Like, what are we talking about? Yeah. This is actually happening, unless something crazy happens.
For sure. So, obviously, you guys know, if you've been listening to this pod, we've been huge fans of Kyle Lowry coming to Dallas.
Yeah.
And so seeing this news today is like, bummer. This is, we've been saying the past few days. So I know I've been throwing out, like, Miami's been the one that I've been worried about the most all along, more than New Orleans on that. It's a bummer for sure. I mean, there's no way around it, because I wanted Lowry on the team. We both did. It's a bummer that he's going to the freaking Miami Heat. I hate the Heat. And,
but the YouTube comments, like, screamed and yelled in the Reddit comments, and
celebrate, guys.
I think that between Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube comments, I've read more negative Kyle Lowry takes than I've read positive, like, yes, bring in Lowry. So I think Mavs fans, at least those Mavs fans, are happy. So
yeah, so for Dallas now, it's it looks like the Miami thing's going to happen. For Dallas, where do they go from here? What is the pivot, and is it technically a pivot? Was Lowry option number one? It feels like it was. Had they already pivoted at this point? Have they already gotten a sign that, hey, Lowry's probably going to go there, and they've already started doing other things? Mark Stein, I don't know if you have that in front. Like, he tweeted out tonight about them kind of shifting focus in free agency on Sunday night. So I think that's the big thing now that Mavericks fans are wondering. We've heard Lowry for the Mavericks. Who's the next name that could be connected to Dallas?
Yeah, and there was a bunch of names that were connected to Dallas. We'll get into it in the third segment here. But then the other thing, so we now have this thing with Lowry, and Dragic will be now going to Toronto. Does Toronto want to keep Lowry? They have Fred VanVleet already. They drafted Scotty Barnes, who's kind of essentially a point guard. And so do they want to have this, older veteran guard on their team, or do they want to just go all youth movement and, give some of their guys some time to play and all that? So my thing is, okay, now the Mavericks they can pull off a sign and trade, not a sign and trade. They can pull off a trade with Dragic and send Dwight Powell and Willie Cauley-Stein to, up there to Toronto to trade back for Dragic if they want to do something like that. Now, some people would say, well, why would, Toronto want to do that? Well, they might want to do that if they don't have a ton of centers. They have like Boucher, and that's kind of it right now. So they want Powell as like a backup center type guy. He is Canadian too, so there's that connection there. That's at least positive in our favor. I'm not sure how positive that is, but it's something. And then they just have, maybe those are some salaries that they can put in trades going elsewhere, a Siakam trade or something like that they need to add up. Instead of sending one guy, you can send split those guys up. They could also just buy out Willie Cauley-Stein. And it's just, if they don't want Dragic, they at least get something for him instead of just buying out Dragic and letting him go to like the Lakers or something like that.
For sure. That's the two different routes. If, we've seen reports, I think Mark Stein was on that Dallas would be interested. I think Woj even put it in his article that Dallas would be interested in Dragic. We know all the connections, Slovenia national team, Igor, everything. We know all that. The two routes of, if he gets bought out, now you're kind of competing in a bidding war for that of, okay, well, if it's around the MLE, then he could go to Lakers, but you're going to give him like 1 year, 15, probably multiple years to like secure him coming there. The benefit of trading for him is, okay, yeah, it's a higher number at 19, but it's also just a 1 year deal. So to where another deal would you have to do like 2 for 30? That's like 15 a year for Dragic to get him to come here.
And with a trade, you're offsetting that salary then. You're not having to go dump Dwight Powell somewhere else. You're actually offsetting a lot of that salary. If you did Dwight and Willie, it would be like 15 million of that salary would be offset. So that, then all of a sudden you're not spending as much cap space on, you're not spending $19 million of your cap space, right? You're spending like 4 million or something like that of your cap space if you do it this way. That allows you to re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr. You're not just straight up signing him into that. So that $19 million number seems a lot for Dragic, but they're not outright signing him. They would be doing, a trade in that, right?
For sure. Yeah. So,
but if he gets bought out, he gets the 19 million or however much he agrees to, and then the Mavericks can sign him to a lot lower number than, and then he gets that on top of the whatever he agreed to with Toronto. So
we don't know,
positive for him too.
Yeah, and if he wants to come to Dallas, that would work out great. But my fear is if he gets bought out, now ever contending team's going to want Goran Dragic. So then it's like you hope the connections like he comes, but then if the Lakers or whoever comes calling that could be in the finals, then I wouldn't be surprised and wouldn't blame him either if he went that route. So
coming up, let's get into some more rumors. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Tim Hardaway Jr. rumors. There's Kawhi stuff that's going around. There's DeRozan mentions, all kinds of stuff. I got a big question for you, too, we'll get into in the third segment. But before we do, let me tell you about Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to put down some money on sports. Sometimes they'll have some betting lines for free agency. I'm not sure I see any right now. Player futures? Basketball futures? No, I don't see any on that. They have a whole bunch of stuff that you can go bet on right now. See if they have the game tonight. Slovenia versus Germany. Slovenia, 13.5-point favorite on Bet Online. Let's go. Getting some respect there. That's some big respect for Slovenia. The money line for Slovenia, minus 1,100. Minus 1,100 for the money line. That is absolutely massive. Team USA over Spain is a 12.5-point favorite, and their money line is only minus 750. So if that tells you anything, that Slovenia is a much bigger favorite than USA over Spain, which is pretty cool. So if you want to go bet on Slovenia, if you want to go bet on USA, if you want to bet on some of this stuff, they have Olympics, they have basketball, they have football, golf, all kinds of stuff. BetOnline.ag. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more. We have been talking about Dragic. We've been talking about Lowry. There's that possibility if, the domino of Lowry actually does go to Miami, which is what it's looking like, then the Mavericks could end up with Dragic in a trade for, Dwight Powell and somebody.
Can I mention one little nugget too? When Porzingis was requesting teams out of New York, Toronto was one of those teams.
Somebody mentioned to me, could they do a Porzingis, a Porzingis Siakam swap in that as well. Like now I don't know why Toronto would do that at that point. I would rather just have Siakam than Porzingis, but there could be a connection there. It could be something if they really want to move on from Siakam. But another thing, Jake Fisher reported on a Spotify Green Room that the Mavericks are not focused on bringing back Tim Hardaway Jr. These are really weird rumors to me because it's all about timing. Because we heard the rumors a couple days ago. Mark Stein says, okay, the Mavericks are focused on, their number one option is Kawhi Leonard, trying to figure out, and then if they don't get Kawhi Leonard, they're going to pivot to Kyle Lowry. And then a day later or so, John Hollinger says the Mavericks are focused on Kawhi Leonard. And you're like, okay, at what point in the front office's thinking or in the Mavericks thinking did they get that intel? Because it just seems like maybe John Hollinger got that a couple days later. From what they were doing. It was like the Mavericks have pivoted from Kawhi Leonard. Okay, they're focused on Kawhi Leonard. Okay, well, did they pivot or did they not pivot? And so this is kind of one of those things is when did Jake Fisher get this? And what does it mean? Does it mean that the Mavericks they've already agreed to a deal with Tim Hardaway Jr., so they're not focused on that anymore because they know what they're going to do and they've already figured it out, which would be tampering, but we'll take it as NBA fans. Or does it mean something else is brewing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that was one of the more eye-opening things. Seeing Fisher, we respect Jake Fisher and that. And if the Mavericks have fully turned the page with Tim, and it's like, hey, he's going to go elsewhere, then something else has to be like cooking. And
you'd hope so.
Yeah, I don't see a world in which they say goodbye to Tim and they don't have something else brewing elsewhere. I don't know what that is, but I'm just saying it's. Yeah, I know they liked him and they would like to bring him back, but if they don't, then that means something bigger, possibly. Anyway, let's just.
What could something other bigger be? Like, what? I mean, the biggest one is that Kawhi Leonard he declined his option, which perked a couple of people's ears up. And Chris Haynes reported that he is going to be listening to other teams. He is not just going back to the Clippers and not listening to anybody else. That would be the biggest one. I would be a little shocked if that happened at this point, but that is, I guess, out there, right?
Yeah, I still don't think. I don't even consider Kawhi a free agent. I just think he's going back. I think it's full.
He's gonna listen though.
I don't know. I just think it's full max back in LA, and
Lonzo Ball's a name we've mentioned a lot before. He's a restricted free agent, and the reason the way the Mavericks would have been able to get him is if Kyle Lowry went to the Pelicans, and then all of a sudden their money is all tied up. So then they renounce his rights. They renounce that qualifying offer. And then Lonzo becomes an unrestricted free agent. The Mavericks can go get him that way. But now, if Kyle Lowry does go to Miami, and the Pelicans don't tie up their cap space in somebody else, then they just keep that offer sheet. Somebody like Chicago comes in and signs Lonzo Ball to a big offer sheet. Then the Pelicans just match it. Like, why wouldn't they just keep that asset, keep that talent, to maybe trade him down the line or something like that? It wouldn't really make any sense for Lonzo to go somewhere else unless somebody goes to the Pelicans. So that doesn't seem like it would be a big thing for the Mavericks right now, like a big focus, because of how difficult it would be to get somebody like that.
For sure. I mean, the Kings didn't do it with Bogdanovich. They just let him walk for nothing either. But I'm with you. Like, we would love Lonzo and the Mavericks, but I mean,
don't you compare David Griffin to what they're doing over there in Northern California?
I'm not. All right, David Griffin's also the guy who gave Steven Adams the extension. So, I don't. We've all seen the Chicago Bulls stuff with Lonzo, so I guess that's in the bag, or you know what? It's not.
I mean, in the bag that they're going to offer him they're going to sign him to an offer sheet, and then the Pelicans are just going to match it. So
yeah. So the other name's DeMar DeRozan. We've talked about him before. We did a whole pod about him. Brad Turner, LA Times, mentioned that in the piece. Hey, Dallas is the team to watch with DeMar DeRozan.
DeRozan is an LA guy, so we should mention that's not just an out of nowhere report from him, right? That Brad Turner, LA Times, DeRozan, LA Ties. That rhymes. I'm in it to win it. Let's go.
For sure. So, that's something. I mean, yeah, everybody has their opinion on how DeRozan fits in Dallas, but that's another route too. And that's another situation with San Antonio that if DeRozan goes elsewhere, could they do a sign and trade at that point? Could Dallas put money back in that deal? Could it be a bigger sign and trade with other names involved in that, to where people are being attached to? Like, there's a lot of different things. Now, another thing to remind, whenever you do a sign and trade deal, you become hard capped. That's just something to keep in mind whenever you do that sign and trade. You accept in a player, via sign and trade. That player has to sign a 3-year deal, and you become a hard cap team. So, not that it's not
Now
like
explain what that means.
well, it's like it's at 143. You can't go over the 143 at that point. To where if you're a bigger market,
$143 million in total salaries, which you just cannot go over. You can't just do luxury tax. Cubans just can't shell out a bunch of money for them to go over that. It's literally the ceiling. The ceiling is the roof in that sense for the hard cap.
For sure. So like that's the whole thing, to where even if you have an owner who says, I don't give a crap, I'll pay 400 million or whatever, just joke around, but you can't go over that number at that point. So, which 143 is a lot. 109 is the salary cap. So it's still a lot, that the ceiling.
I've seen some people say 112, but
the hard cap?
No, the salary cap.
Oh, okay. 112. But DeRozan's salary name, though. I mean, we don't know what DeRozan's going to do. It's like he could go to LA for like 7. I don't understand the DeRozan Miami thing. It's a cool story. I just don't understand. I mean, I guess I'm just
the basketball aspect, like Butler, DeRozan, and Bam on the same team, all not shooting threes, not shooting threes well.
So why you bring back Duncan Robinson?
You bring Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry, just going to take all the threes for you?
Well, I just don't know how they would pull it off money-wise. I don't understand that.
Too.
So somebody smarter than me can figure that stuff out, and I don't understand that. But we'll see. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, Dinwiddie stuff, Dragic stuff. I mean, we're recording this at 12:40 right now in the morning.
Central time.
I mean, we joke that this is going to be one of the more outdated pods if you don't listen to this first thing on Monday morning.
I said it could expire very quickly because just rumors happen, and that this pod could be expired by the time you're listening to this. So my big question that I asked on Twitter today: would you rather have DeMar DeRozan or Spencer Dinwiddie? There's pros and cons of both. Dinwiddie probably costs you a little less, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Dinwiddie's coming off of an ACL. DeMar DeRozan is a worse shooter than Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie's not that much better of a shooter than DeMar DeRozan is. DeRozan is a much better mid-range shooter, but Dinwiddie at least has good catch and shoot 3-point numbers, whereas DeRozan doesn't necessarily. You got shot creation with both of them. Both of them can create their own shot. Dinwiddie's a little bit of a wild card because of the ACL injury, but it's an interesting question. And I think it was pretty split. It was maybe like 60-40 DeRozan on Twitter, but I want to know what you think in the YouTube comments, DeRozan or Dinwiddie. Which one would you rather have?
That's a good one. I hear both of it. I think I lean DeRozan, but I don't know.
I think so with DeRozan, he's never played with somebody as good as Luka. The best player he's ever played with is Kyle Lowry.
He's been on some good teams, and he has playoff.
They were good teams though. They didn't have the one star. He's never played with a guy like that, which could be a positive or a negative. He could come at it and be Chris Bosh. It just takes him a year to figure out how to do that, and the Mavericks, I'm not sure they have a year to figure that out.
And I could just be scarred because I remember the DeRozan game winner. I remember
that should be a positive though if you're considering putting him on the team.
I know, but I could just be scarred in the sense of I just remember him getting buckets, and I value that so much of wanting that. Somebody texted me today and said, "Hey, what's the one starting spot you want to upgrade the most this offseason?" I'm like, this, like the secondary creator spot is what I've wanted forever. I want it now more than ever. I want somebody else that can go get me a bucket. And so I get all the
DeRozan would do that.
Yes, he would do that. He would help you regular season. For me at this point, I would say let's do the DeRozan thing, and we'll figure out the playoff fit when we're in the Western Conference Finals or whatever it is. Like that's when I'll figure that crap out.
There's a piece of this to where, and I think the Lakers are kind of banking on this as well. If you're just a really good regular season team and you win more regular season games, then your matchup in the playoffs is a little bit better, right? Like you're going up there in the standings. And for the Lakers, at a certain point, you'd be like, okay, well, eventually one of these matchups is just going to be bad for us because of Westbrook. But for the Mavericks, your goal is to win a playoff series, right? So just be a really kick-ass regular season team, which DeRozan would make you, and then be the 2 seed, the 3 seed, whatever, and have a better matchup in the first round.
For sure. Yeah. So that's why There hasn't been. That's the unique thing about this offseason. There hasn't been a Drummond type of guy that we've been all against.
Yeah,
like I can talk myself into a lot of these guys.
Wait, besides Drummond, Drummond is a free agent, right?
Okay, besides Drummond,
Let's be real.
Stop that. I do want to add this real quick thing about Dragic. The one thing I don't want to do with Dragic is just to say, "Hey, we'll absorb you into cap space." I don't want to do that. I don't like if it's
and then lose Tim.
Yes, and it's like now 20 million of your cap space basically is going to Dragic, and that's what I don't want to do. So if we can make a trade for Dragic, I'm down. If it's a buyout and then he comes here, I'm down. I love everything about let's bring Dragic here on a reasonable type deal. I just don't want to just absorb him for free, and then that takes up 20 million of your cap. My last thing I want to ask you is Frank Ntilikina, flyer?
Who's flyer than Frank Ntilikina? Is that what you're asking me?
Would you take a flyer on Frank Ntilikina?
Man.
I would do it.
Yeah, like I guess it. I still
would
would like
Delon Wright and Josh Richardson.
I'm trying, and in free agency, I think we're trying to find some guys that can. All right, could this guy potentially be part of a playoff rotation? I just don't see a single scenario where Ntilikina is potentially part of a playoff rotation, right?
Jason Kidd's like Michael Carter Williams mold. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe in 2 years, or he's 2 years away from being close enough. But yeah, Evan Fournier is another name that's been mentioned a lot. The Celtics are apparently not re-signing him, or they don't think that they're going to be able to re-sign him. That's just a really interesting name. And the Score reported that Dallas is interested. Not sure what to take from that, but he fits the mold of this guy that can create his own shot. Tim Hardaway Jr. type guy. It's kind of a toss-up between him and Tim to me, I think, but I probably lean Tim.
How do you say his last name? Fournier?
Fournier.
Do you think people should we Google it?
I'm not gonna screen share it, that's for sure.
I mean, he can get buckets, he could score.
Yep.
The price tag scares me. If we're like, hey, if they come out Monday night saying Dallas, Evan Fournier, 3 for 65, and I'm like, ooh, okay. And I'm a little scared, but I mean, he can score. So, but we've seen what he did against Team USA that first game. So he can definitely get buckets.
The thing is, though, he can score, but it's not like he's like a 20-something per game scorer. He's been averaging 17 points a game in Orlando.
What
do those points mean to you, right?
Tim, I want Tim over 48. So
Tim scored 17 points a game last year on a good team.
Yeah.
That's different.
Loved Tim, like everything. Yeah. So it should be fun, man. Have fun with it. Don't get too depressed about this is so exciting. I enjoy all of this, and this is a blast to see all the rumors and texts and notifications, and it officially starts at 6. What a Monday night we have. Free agency, Slovenia versus Germany.
Yeah.
I don't even know what our pod situation looks like. You could have one big pod. You could have multiple pods tomorrow night. If we have like a breaking news pod, we
got YouTube now, so we may just do some quick YouTube hitters that we're like, all right, we're doing 10 minutes about this rumor that just happened on YouTube.
Somebody tweeted us today and said y'all should just go live at 5 just for everyone to see your reaction.
We are. I'm going live with Josh Lloyd at 5 p.m. and at 5 p.m. Central Time. Locked On NBA YouTube channel, Locked On Network on Twitter. So go watch us there. We'll be reacting to everything happening. My boy Josh Lloyd, I'm excited to hang out with him tomorrow.
So basically, what Nick's saying is, if Dallas makes a big move, y'all just need to spam that chat and tell him to get off that so we can do an emergency.
No.
Pod.
I'll bring you on that. And then
we'll have to do an emergency pod, though.
And then I'll get off and do an emergency pod. But our friend Niles tweeted me this today. I'm getting to the point where I'll be happy with Oladipo. Crying face, crying face, crying face, crying face. And I said, if anyone reaches this point, it's time to log off of Twitter, go eat some ice cream, or something else entirely. That's just my advice to everyone out there.
Oladipo's gonna be one of those dudes who signs with the Lakers for $6 million, and then he has a career year again coming back, and we're like, why did he do this?
Well, he's got to do a prove it year. But yeah, if you're getting to that point in free agency, it's time to log off Twitter for a little bit, get some fresh air, walk outside. Hopefully the storms are done by then.
And remember, this is more than free agency too. This is like another trade season that there could be names out there for teams that we're not even talking about.
Buddy Hield's still out there. The Mavericks could make a deal for Buddy Hield.
There are teams out there that are really just thinking about everything right now. So don't just whenever you're having fun with it and figuring out, okay, the free agent list, man, it's dwindling right now. There's other names of teams wanting to move some pieces around. So keep that in mind on Monday.
I have one more thing. I'm the one more thing king
What?
today.
One more thing.
I feel like going into this, if the Mavericks whiff,
This
just
is
completely
a 40-minute prediction right here.
Yeah, if we just completely whiff on everything, everyone will blame Cuban, right?
Of course.
If the Mavericks land somebody big, it's DeRozan or like the Lowry thing somehow happens.
Oh, we'll have Nico with a crown on his head.
It's all going to be praise on Nico, and that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't think Nico will get any blame in any of this. I think it'll all be on Cuban, and all the praise will be on Nico, and none of it will be on Cuban.
That's valid. Yeah. Valid, assessment. Yeah.
Unless a story comes out that like Spencer Dinwiddie loved his conversation with Mark Cuban about Bitcoin and like all that stuff. Unless a story comes out about that, where it was proven that like Mark Cuban had, a say or a hand in this, then he won't get any praise and he'll get all the blame. I just find that interesting. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm just saying it's really interesting.
I do want to say there is some pressure though. And I think
for sure.
There is some pressure for Nico and Kid. And, we have heard they have relationships and connections and all of that will help, as you move into building a team. It's different. We've heard the comparison to Donnie. It's like, it's different building a team now than it was 5 years ago and all this stuff. So it would be tough for the fan base to hear about relationships, connections, and all of this stuff. And then you don't have one or two bigger, even if you don't walk away with Kawhi, you don't have one or two bigger roster additions to where you can point towards it and be like, okay, look, we made some big changes here and there. That there is pressure for that to happen for sure.
It also may not all happen tomorrow. So, or today, if you're watching this on Monday. So there still could be things that happen. Just because a bunch of names are off the board doesn't mean everything's done. And it also doesn't mean they're sitting there waiting for Danny Green again.
For sure.
I just hope they don't do, because that was brutal last time.
We're all listening to Danny Green's podcast.
Who tweeted that today that was like, I'm having flashbacks of listening to Danny Green's podcast every single day to see what he's going to do.
Is Danny Green a Maverick tomorrow night?
He's a free agent. Like, he can be a Maverick. I'd be down for that still.
But like, weren't there reports, it came out, yesterday on Sunday that Tobias Harris is being shopped. It's like, who's like that was just out of nowhere. So like, we don't know how many players. Ben Simmons still hasn't been traded yet. Like what's the aftermath of that? Wherever he goes, what's the third team on that? Yep. There's all these young flyers too. Malik Monk, we didn't even talk about him. I would love a flyer at Malik Monk. There's so many guys that are hitting the free agent market. Kelly Olynyk of the world. Like, we could go all day on it. So this is fun. This is one of the most exciting times of the NBA year. And
we love it. We'll be here for you guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.